Hello everyone, Namaste. This is a continuation of our previous presentation based on MAPC psychology course. In the last presentation, we have just seen the definition of psychology. Today, we are going to look into the major approaches for understanding human behavior. This is important because before entering into the meticulous details, I think it is essential to have a global perspective about what we are talking. I am reminded of the theory of advanced organizer theory of David P. Oswald, the American cognitive psychologist. I'll quote his sentence. He said, "Tell them what you are going to tell them. Then tell them. Then tell them what you told them." This is a very, very important message, I believe. He also warns the teachers, "Hey teacher, your student does not understand what you are talking about." And he suggests teachers to provide ideational scaffolding. The new knowledge is compared to the cement mortar in a construction site. If the scaffold is presented and shown to the worker, who he need not necessarily be an intelligent person, he may be a moron sometimes. But once the scaffold is shown to him, he knows where the cement mortar has to be deposited. You have to provide ideational scaffolding. I hope you understand what we mean. Ideational scaffolding, so as to subsume the new knowledge which you are presenting to the existing cognitive structures. Another word he uses is intellectual anchorage. So presenting the global things initially, of course, that is a very effective strategy for comprehending better, classifying our knowledge, information processing. So please remember Oswald's sentence before we enter into this. So now let us see the 6 major approaches for understanding human behavior. The first approach I want to mention about is behavioristic approach. Behavioristic psychology is also called stimulus-response psychology because all the psychologists in this school of psychology, we call it a school of psychology because just like isms in economics, philosophy, we have isms in psychology also. But we prefer to use schools of psychology. So the behaviorist school, all the psychologists who support that approach believed that human behavior is composed of stimuli and responses. Any complex behavior can be split into the stimulus response elements, they believed. So most of their studies were based on this. Their focus of attention was learning, of course, behavior modification. This is their thrust area. And the major psychologists belonging to this school are, of course, Ivan Pavlov with his classical conditioning, B.F. Skinner, who is the exponent of operant conditioning. E.L. Thorndike, another person, a Columbia University psychologist who was responsible for proposing the laws of learning. Trial and error theory, it is called. These are all stimulus response theories. Hull, Clark L. Hull. So many persons belonging to this school of psychology, they emphasized their studies, even though in animals and birds, they will enable us to understand human behavior, because many studies cannot be conducted in human beings. The second approach is the cognitive approach. This approach is often referred to as an antithesis to the behavioristic paradigm. In the behavioristic paradigm, they say it is brick and mortar psychology, because bricks stimuli, mortar responses, they are pasted together. This will never enable to understand behavior, because more meaningful, more structured, more interrelated. So cognitive processes going on in the brain, field forces they call it. Field forces operating in the brain, and insights developed by a person through holistic perception. Their best message is the whole dominates its parts. It's not simply the sum of its parts. So their focus was on learning, memory, insights, and of course the cognitive processes like thinking, feeling, developing of schemata, information processing, discovery learning, so forth. The major psychologists belonging to this school of psychology are the Gestalt Psychologists, Wertheimer, Kohler, and Kafka. Max Wertheimer, Kurt Kafka, Wolfgang Kohler. They belonged to the University of Berlin in Germany. Following them, E.C. Tolman, with his sign learning theory, he came forward. Expectancy theory. Then Kurt Lewin, another German psychologist, who was a physicist in fact, he came forward with his field theory. He believed that just like magnetic field, the human behavior also is governed by the cognitive forces, field forces. We are not going to the details of these theories now, just mentioning for a global understanding. Then Jean Piaget, he was the exponent of psychogenetic epistemology, that is his theory. He believed that the human thinking is a process of evolution, it's a result of evolution. And schemata, even symbolic schemata, are preserved in the brain. Brunner, Jerome S. Brunner, is another person who contributed much. Of course, Ozubel. So I'm not giving you a list of psychologists. The third major approach, you can see that each approach is different. Their strategies are different. Their area of interest are different. The method of inquiry, research also is different. Okay, the thrust area of psychoanalysis, that is the third school. It was founded by Sigmund Freud, and so many followers were there. Before coming to their followers' names, Sigmund Freud emphasized that the unconscious part of the brain, our consciousness, is far more important than the conscious and perhaps subconscious. And the unconscious motives, the innate instincts, the libidinal energy, see the thrust area, their thrust area. These are the vital motivating force of life. And his theory stands nowhere near the former two theories. He had so many followers. His main followers were Carl Gustav Jung, Alfred Adler. Of course, these two persons, because of differences of opinion, quit psychoanalysis and developed their own psychology. Jung's psychology is called analytical psychology, and Adler's psychology is called individual psychology. Other persons were Karen Horney, Eric H. Erikson, Anna Freud, so many persons. So this is the third different approach for understanding human behavior. The fourth approach is called Humanistic Approach. It's also called Existential Approach. It is also called the third force psychology because behaviorism and cognitivism, the first force, psychoanalysis, the second force, the third force psychology. See, they upheld the importance of human dignity, human freedom. Other names related to this school are Abraham Maslow, a very popular figure, Bhula, a lady who was the president of a humanistic school, their philosophy. Fritz Perl is another German psychologist who popularized this existential therapy based on these humanistic concepts, and so forth. Now we will come to the fifth school of psychology. The fifth school of psychology is called Socio-Cultural Emphasis. Their thrust area was the social and cultural factors that influence human behavior. There are certain diseases found in certain areas in various parts of the globe. We cannot enter to the details now. See how society influences. What is the influence of family, peer group, religions, community, even geographical factors, nutritional factors, environmental factors. Learning through imitation. Human being greatly imitates. They prefer to use the word vicarious learning through imitation. So this is the thrust area of this group. The major exponent of this theory was Albert Bandura. He had a disciple, Walters. Bandura, Walters. And of course, Kurt Lewin conducted several laboratory experiments to see the influence of imitation upon the behavior of children. How violence is imitated. Likewise. Now let us enter to the last school, sixth school. Sixth approach This is called the Neurobiological Approach. It's also called the Neurochemical Approach, Neurophysiological Approach, whatever the name is. It is very evident what do they focus upon. They focus upon the function of the brain, various parts of the brain, various lobes in the brain, how we are influenced by the functions of various parts of the brain, our nervous system, central nervous system, autonomic nervous system, how they influence our behavior, how they are highly correlated with behavior, our hormone systems. If there are hormone imbalances, what changes in the human being? Say, for example, some hormone like dopamine, serotonin, epinephrine hormones. The imbalance of these hormones will influence our behavior very considerably, conspicuously. So, study focusing upon these biological functions. This is their focus. So many persons are there. This is in the upswing now. Researchers are going on and on, because the human brain is perhaps the most mysterious entity in the world. The human brain, such a miraculous entity, because researchers are going on. Billions and billions and billions of neurons are there. And how these neurons, their functions, even learning is interpreted as development of RNA molecules in the neurons. Memory is associated with this, not only mental diseases. So their approach is this. So many persons are associated with this, like Rosenzweig, Bennett, Wilder Penfield, Joseph Lee Dukes. He is a very popular neurobiologist, neural scientist, I would say. V.S. Ramachandran, though he is an Indian by birth, he is settled in New York. They are all the major propagators of the neurobiological approach. Nowadays, even researchers are going on mirror neurons. See, in our interactions, when you interact with a person whom you love or whom you consider that affectionate person, seeing him itself and interacting with him will reverberate the mirror neurons within us, and vice versa. So researches are going on. So I conclude 6 approaches: the behavioristic approach, the cognitive approach, the psychoanalytic approach, the humanistic approach, the socio-cultural approach, and the neurobiological approach. In our next presentation, we will come to cognitive psychology. That is the first unit in your study material. So we will focus on that in the next presentation. Thank you for patient listening.